Okay.
Hello, my astrology family. I'm here with evolutionary astrologer Brian Coulter, and he will demonstrate to us how you can speed read the birth chart. And he's going to be doing my chart. kind of, I had forgotten.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Brian.
Are you sure you're prepared?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. And I'm evolutionary astrologer, so you always look at the positive, how to find and how to tie it in together for the growth of the evolution. So I'm excited about that. And by the way, this is an example of a course that Brian will be teaching how to speed read the birth chart. He will be doing it. It's not a course, it's a one-time webinar on the 12th of September. Whoever wants to join us, it's 30% off till the 12th of September. Yeah, very excited. You don't need to know much astrology. It's almost like foundational, how to tie it in together, how to look at the different, sun, moon, ascendant, and combine them and, you know, impress whoever you're reading for.
Yeah, if you want to do some fortune telling at a party, you know where to get the skill set right here. Yeah. Speed reading the birth chart. Ah, astrology is so complex, It's preaching to the choir here. You know that. And, even for us who have dedicated our lives to this as a professional practice, I mean, we'll always be learning, always improving. It's an endless rabbit hole of information. And, every chart is complex and interesting for different ways, but some are more complex than others. You look at a chart and you just have squares and oppositions to everything. And it's like, oh my God, it's so easy, even for us, to sometimes look at a chart and just go splat, because it's chocked full of so much information. And I've developed a class here where I can kind of distill it into its root parts and kind of just play with the archetypes a little bit. It's like based on the sun, the moon, and ascendant. And I'll even teach a little bit beyond that too. It's not only that. We can kind of just strip away all the craziness of a chart and just look at the core components and understand so much about somebody's life path. Sure, understand a lot of their qualities of character, their inner psychology. I call the birth chart the blueprint of the psyche. It's like what's going on in their internal world that's driving those traits into external manifestation. And also, I like to say in a kind of funny way, in your birth chart where you got planets, you got problems, meaning that's where the growth is. That's where the action is. That's where the soul contracts are. So by understanding your birth chart or somebody else's birth chart, you can not only understand a lot about their personality, their internal world, their gifts, their passions, their cosmic job description, their destiny, so to speak, but also you can understand, okay, what areas of their life are they meant to grow through the most? And that's why I like this style of astrology called evolutionary astrology, because it presupposes that's why we're here, to evolve, to learn, to grow. And we can transcend just the descriptive form of astrology into prescriptive and present sort of a polarity. It's like, here's you, amazing version of you, when you're getting everything right. And here's where you suck, so that you, with your own conscious awareness, can kind of pinpoint where you are on that scale. And then by understanding the archetypes that are running up and down your spine, we can start to understand, okay, how can I strive to the highest version of me? And in so doing, manifest your destiny and put your personal growth and evolution into hyperdrive. But the immediate challenge of it when you're looking at a birth chart is you got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a good rule of thumb for us, Lada, is to start with one of the three loudest voices in the chart. Everybody's got them. Sun, moon, ascendant. Ascendant sometimes called the rising sign. Understanding the signs that they're in, the houses too. I'll be teaching about the houses in this class. We can learn so much very quickly. I just speed reading the birth chart with practice. Within just a few minutes, you can just understand so much about somebody and their journey. And here we are going to have a little fun tonight, and look at
My expense.
yeah, at your expense. Sorry about that. You signed up for it, so it's
I'm
a.
excited. Please be as honest and brutal as possible.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna keep it light and fun and playful, you know. So imagine we're at a party, you know, and we just met for the first time, and I'm off in the corner at this table giving, you know, readings. And in this version of the story, you know, you're just a curious onlooker, and maybe you don't know as much about astrology, and you just want to get a reading. And you sit down with me, and I'm wearing one of those funny wizard hats with the little kink at the top, you know, just to play the part. And I look at you, and I say, Lada, you are a warrior with the soul of a performer, wearing the mask of the revolutionary. Mic drop. That's it. I'm done. See you later. Good night. You know, no, there's more to it than that, you know, but
They're thinking.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just if you think about it for a second, that's a good introduction, you know, a good way to enter the chart. Just in that one sentence, we can start to play with those archetypes in our mind. An archetype is chock full of so much information. It's multi-dimensional, multifaceted. And of course, when you start dancing multiple archetypes together, fusing them together into this meta archetype, it says so much of the symphony that is your psyche. And that symphony is sometimes, you know, out of rhythm, but, you know, by understanding the high road, you can put it back into rhythm. So you are a warrior with the soul of a performer filtering through the mask of the revolutionary. So you are a warrior, you are a pioneer, you are a daredevil. These are all archetypes linked to Aries. You have your sun in Aries. And even that sentence, you are this, you are that, it resonates with the meaning of the sun, because the sun is the core of your identity. It's your core life path. It's your self-image, your values, things in life that you must be true to feel whole, to feel sane and vital and full of energy. So there's a reason why all the horoscopes of the world focus on the sun sign, you know, or at least most of them do, or the rising sign too, but it's because it's central. Sun, the center of everything, you know, at least in the solar system. So the core of your identity is in the sign of the warrior. So you are a warrior and a pioneer. And that will tell us so much about your quality of character, and then some of the challenges inherent with being a warrior, and the evolutionary intention that you're playing out in this lifetime. So it's a fire sign. By the way, your moon's in Leo, the performer archetype, that's another fire sign. Wow, you're a fiery person. You have multiple planets in fire signs. And the sun likes being in fire signs for obvious reasons. But you're a warrior on steroids, not just because the sun's in Aries, but it's also next to Mars in Aries. So sun represented as your identity is next to Mars, the war god, in the sign of the warrior. You also have Venus in Aries there too. You also have Mercury in Aries. It's like, oh my God, warrior on steroids. And the warrior itself doesn't need more juice. It's already pretty ripped, you know? So you're action oriented, you're assertive, you have a quality of pluck and independence and verve. You're fiercely loyal. You jump into battle. You act first, ask questions later, you know? There's kind of a, I'll die with my boots on sort of energy inherent with Aries, at least when we look at it in a vacuum. But I'm comfortable looking at it in a vacuum with you, just because you have so much Aries in your chart. There's more to it than that. But also, this hero archetype, you have it running up and down your spine. You're good to have in an emergency. Let's say you're having Thanksgiving and you have relatives over, and they're helping you by carving the turkey, and their hand slipped and they, you know, cut themselves really badly and they're bleeding, you know. I want you there, you know. It's like, I'll cry later, I'll faint later. There's that robustness about you. Now, where's your husband? He's a Cancer. He's probably under the bed, you know. So a relative immunity to panic under pressure. So wow, you're a feisty individual. You're hell on wheels so far, we've discovered. Now that is much different than the evolutionary path, let's say, of the warrior, which is to become braver and stronger. That's your life path, to face your fears. And that takes everything I just said and puts it in an interesting light. Doesn't sound like I'm describing you as somebody deficient in courage. But from the evolutionary astrology perspective, you were not born brave enough to accomplish what you've come here to accomplish, to fully manifest your destiny. The demon fear guards the gate to the garden of enlightenment for you.
That's what I was going to ask you, because I only after, when does the archetype of the sun become stronger? Because I did not feel that until the last few years. And only slightly I'm starting to feel those Aries qualities. Before that, I felt much more like a Libra or something.
Felt much more like a what?
Libra, Pisces.
Well, you do have a lot of Libra in your chart too.
Well, no, I wanted to please people. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid to be independent. I was afraid to take risks. I was everything that you said, the opposite. And I'm growing into that. And I'm like, that feels good.
Yeah, there's a reason to feel good, because that's your soul's intention for you. It's a big part of the contract you signed before you were born. And that's so interesting, the way you describe that, because you place this in a second house of your chart, second house context. Most astrologers will look at the second house and say, ah, house of money, you know, and it is, absolutely. It's a big part of life, okay? But why is money or security or, you know, dealing with the more practical realities and sound business investments and skill building, why is that so important to you? The psycho-spiritual understanding of the second house is it's the house of insecurity.
Okay.
Outward security, inward security, net worth, self-worth, they affect each other.
Very strongly.
Yeah. So you making some money, let's say, will help you to feel more secure in a very insecure environment that's living on planet Earth.
That's the only thing. Yeah. That's the only thing that's given me more self-confidence.
Yeah.
It's
but
weird.
so does facing your fears. You know, the more you face your fears to evoke courage, it's like, imagine your friend talks you into skydiving.
No,
you know,
ever.
And there you are up in the plane. Yeah, exactly. And your knees are knocking, you know. And anybody who knows you really well, if they were to see you in that position before you jump, they see your soul shining through. Kind of a shrug of the shoulders, as if what the heck, and then leaping, not to your death or to your doom, but into kind of an ecstasy. Now, inwardly, you're feeling tense and terrified, you know, but by the time you float to the ground, you're a braver person on the ground than you were up in the plane. And for the rest of your life, you'll remember that. You faced the sky, and you're stronger for it. Even if it's the furthest thing from your mind, you'll remember it throughout the rest of your life. That memory will stay. And you'll be emboldened. You'll be stronger. You'll be more warrior-like.
So you think that the sun is what you actually are not born having those qualities. You are pushed by life to develop those qualities, what you need to develop.
Oftentimes it works that way. It worked that way for me too. You know, I have a Sagittarius sun, and there was elements of Sag that I cultivated early, but there was some of it I didn't, you know. But I think especially for you, because it's in the second house of insecurity, of self-doubt, of questioning oneself, uncertain about your own true intrinsic nature. Now, would you say you're much happier now that you've lived that life in that way?
Yes.
And we also got to take into consideration that you have sweet Madam Venus, the goddess of love, the ruler of Libra, conjunct your sun. So you felt more like a Libra, you know, because you're utterly Venusian. And your moon in Leo, which I haven't gotten to yet, it's also in the 7th house, the house that Venus rules. So you have your moon in the 7th house, a relationship house. Venus, a relationship planet here fused with your identity, your sun. You are Madam Venus, as well as the warrior. And Venus is very Libra, wants to build and maintain the bridge of rapport with other people, usually at the sacrifice of their own, or, too much compromise or too much passive aggressive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to live a life of being passive aggressive, it probably manifest a lot of those more Aryan anger issues inside as resentment and such, because you're kind of balancing both sides of the teeter-totter here. And Venus deals with basically two main things. It deals with relationship and aesthetics and beauty. I mean, think about Venus. She's the most beautiful thing in the sky, besides the moon, I guess. Lovely as can be. So it represents beauty, it represents attractiveness. So, Lada, you are attractive, And if I were to say that to a room full of people in the beauty industry, it's like, oh, Brian's hitting on Lada live on YouTube, And okay, if you take a sample size of everybody with Venus on the sun or Venus on the ascendant, you'll see way above random chance, drop dead gorgeous people, true.
Venus sun or Venus ascendant, yes, true.
Yeah. And we can understand this even more precisely by understanding Venus, the goddess of love, is fused with your identity. So you have attractiveness emanating from the core of your being. So you are likable. I've poked around on different astrologers' YouTubes, watched their videos, great content out there. But I got to say, you have one of the best audiences or tribe or community of people I've seen, in this niche of astrology, because people love you. You're very likable. Here it is emanating from the core of your being. Now, we can ask ourselves the primary question, which is, again, why I love this style of astrology. Why? Okay, great. But why? Because you're meant to attract people. Why are you meant to attract people in this life? Well, for starters, you're doing some great work here with therapy and readings and content creation, helping people, draw people in to be a benefit. But you're attracting people so that because you have deep evolutionary work in the subject arena of relationship in your life. Yeah. Now, if you had Saturn conjunct your sun, you probably wouldn't have as big of an audience, or a different kind of audience, let's say.
Kind of audience.
Yeah, a much different kind of.
How hard life is and how to overcome.
Yeah. Saturn, there's plenty of Saturn folks that are very likable, but when I think, that's not the first word I think of when I think of Saturn, Now, you're attracting people, you have a lot to learn there. Let's put a pin in that for now. We'll return to that. Let's get to this performer archetype pending. Moon in Leo, the performer, the king of the beasts or queen of the beasts. So you have the soul of a queen. Soul is a good moon word because it's the center of our chest. It's our heart, it's our soul, it's emotional world. And understanding Leo and seventh house dynamics, where your moon is located, will give us insight on how to maintain your heart happiness and emotional well-being. So qualities of character, how you're perceived, okay, with Leo energy, people are just impressed with you. That's king energy, queen energy, or king or queen of the beasts. It's like impressive, quiet dignity. You shine brightly into the world. But you also have kind of this cloak of invisibility or blinding aura because of your brightness. People are impressed by you. So it's hard for people to see through the brightness, to see actually down to what it feels like to be Lada. Wow. People have no idea. And this can lead to a pretty lonely life at times, feeling misunderstood. What's the evolutionary intention? To leave tangible evidence of your internal processes in the hands of the world. Broadly, we could say this, call this creativity.
Wow, I've never heard a place like that. The
Leo?
Moon in Leo. Wow, it's profound.
And then we add to that, what you create needs to scare the pants off of you. Aries. And Venus is the goddess of love. Remember, relationship aesthetics, beauty, but also the creation of beauty. Venus, the goddess of the arts, fused with your identity. Moon in Leo, the performer. You're an artist. I look at this chart, I say, this is the chart of an artist. My question is, does Lada know that yet? Well, hey, you got a YouTube channel. You're doing all right in that department. But I have this, we link these archetypes and say, okay, developing courage around expressing yourself, because Leo ultimately is about vulnerability, especially heart, emotional vulnerability. You have so much robustness in your chart. You can retreat into Fortress Lada. You can be an independent woman, be autonomous. Okay, this is starting to go towards relationship here in a second. I'm trying to resist that temptation, hence why I'm pausing here. But you're learning vulnerability and expressions. Why? The evolutionary goal is so people can see you more clearly, to see what it feels like to be you. But it's scary. Vulnerability is scary. Now, I think artistry takes tremendous courage. So I have this image of you, about 9, 10, 11 years ago. Here you are, this budding astrologer. And you want to start putting what you know out there. And you kind of fantasizing about going on YouTube. Oh, I really want to do that. But wait, it scares the crap out of me.
No, I was crying and I was refusing to do it. And I was for almost a year in the biggest depression because I just did not want to do it. And my partner kept saying, you have to do it because else. And I was like, I was crying day and night. It was the most difficult thing I have ever done because I was the shyest person ever. So it was the scariest thing.
Yeah.
Exactly like you said.
Sun in the second house of insecurity. And what an angel your partner was. Oh my God. He knew. So here you are making your first video, just making the story up, obviously. And you create it and you edit it and ready to put it up. And I just see you breaking in this full sweat, before you put yourself out there. Vulnerability through expression, creative expression. It's like, what if you wrote a poem and you shared it with somebody in this place of vulnerability and they say, oh, that was interesting. Or you put out your first YouTube video and you get a comment. The first comment you ever received is, stick to cooking, As an astrologer, you make an excellent car mechanic, So allowing yourself in this life to be spontaneous. Okay, that's the foundation of feeling safe with another person, or better yet, group of people. When you put out your first video, your angels were popping expensive champagne.
Wow.
That just lights your chart up like a Christmas tree. And here you are thriving, still doing it to this day.
And now loving it.
Sorry?
And now loving it.
Now loving it? You mean you didn't before?
No, every time it was so difficult the first year when I had to psych myself up for it.
Yes. Yeah. I totally relate. Absolutely.
A lot of those comments, like you said, a lot of those comments.
You're putting yourself out there. Leo, the king of the beasts, you've come here to roar like a lion. With the karma, we talked about this in one of our past videos, with the karma of somebody who was very different and felt a lot of rejection, betrayal, and abandonment because you came from an Aquarian past life. Literally judged, feeling like an outsider or an exile in your own life. Now that kind of goes beyond our purposes here. But in the face of karmic fierce judgment, you're being called to Care Bear stare, with your heart. So vulnerability. And of course, we can put this in a relationship context too. Your life is tied to relationship. You have a lot of inner work to do there. When you got married, again, angels popping expensive champagne. Wow. A lot of your chart, I'm not going to focus on this too much. But a lot of your chart, I mean, it's a relationship intensive for you. And the moon in the seventh house is one of the biggest reasons why. And here you are learning Leo 9 vulnerability within the context of, the messiness that is, human relationships. The sign, Leo, you're learning to feel safe enough to be emotionally naked with the karma of somebody who was so grossly misunderstood because of your uniqueness. So the famous 3 words, I love you, they're very charged and powerful words, especially if they're said sincerely. Looking at somebody in the eye, saying that. Try this. Imagine you're with somebody for 6 weeks and it's going great. You're falling in love with this person. You treat each other very well, okay? You come to this point where you're having a beautiful romantic candlelight dinner and these words, 3 words enter your mind, I love you. And then you think, oh, should I say that? There's a crossroads, That can be scary. Vulnerability. Telling somebody you love them for the first time, that can be awkward. What if they say back to you, I really like you too? Oh, why did I say I love you? You're thinking in your head, it's so human. You took the risk. But when you're contemplating, should I take that risk? Maybe this is the moment I should say I love you. You're a smart person. It's unpredictable how they'll respond. Okay. Do you need to take that risk? No. You can do the safe play. You can wait. That would be safe. Leo moon, you're learning. Your soul's path is learning to be safe enough to be emotionally naked. You're trying to find that place of safety within vulnerability. That's Leo, the safety of self-expression. Okay. Finding strength in yourself, we can apply that to relationship. And then also the arts, the 2 main pillars of your life. There's more, but those are the core ones upon which your evolution is dependent on, you exploring those areas of your life. And you are a warrior, a pioneer with the soul of a lion or performer shining through the mask of the revolutionary, the rebel. The mask is the rising sign or the ascendant. A mask implies you're hiding something. That's not what it means exactly. It's the stained glass window through which your psyche shines, or how your consciousness interfaces with cosmos. So if your inner world kind of has certain colors and hues, in your case, a lot of fire, so probably a lot of reds and oranges and yellows, how that filters out into the world is a different color altogether. It's how you come across. And of course, it's interesting because Aquarius rising is really the hardest to describe because the sign itself represents raw individuality. One thing I've noticed in my personal practice is, I gotta say, well over half the people I sit with, which is definitely a statistical anomaly, with Aquarius risings are people who live in a culture that they're not originally from.
Huh, interesting.
So they're seen, there's that mask, they're seen as somebody who's unique, who's different.
Yes, that makes sense now.
So Lada, you're weird,
I know.
You're strange.
That's what people don't know anything, yeah.
Sorry?
That's what, when I moved to the States, no families around want to be our friends because I'm weird and strange, because we're in a small provincial town, and the husbands told their wives that I'll put dangerous ideas into their heads. So I have absolutely no family friends here because I'm weird and put dangerous thoughts in the heads of the people.
Yeah, you're the crazy witch from Europe, Yeah, so, and of course, gosh, karmically, you have your South Node in Aquarius. Maybe we can put a link below if somebody's interested. And that's the last class I did, was teaching how to read the past life in the chart.
Oh, that was fascinating webinar. That was one of the best.
Thank you. That was my first one. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun. So, yeah, I mean, you come from Aquarius. You've been getting PhD in Aquarius for lifetimes. And here you come, no surprise, with a Aquarian mask. So you're seen as weird or strange. And of course, words like that are inflammatory and they only hold power in the eyes of certain beholders.
Yeah.
meaning the mainstream, or your neighbors, you know. So what it is you're meant to create, that's meant to bring you beyond your comfort zones, butt you up against the borders of your fears, what it is you're meant to shine into the world is unique to you. You're a staunch individual. And you're learning to be vulnerable in what you create, which is outside the mainstream, in a world that values mainstream and conformity.
Wow.
So that takes a lot of bravery. So you are a warrior with the soul of a performer shining through the mask of the rebel. And that says, that's obviously me actually talking about your chart wasn't speed describing your chart. Of course, I got a little verbose there. Okay, I like to riff on the symbols, but the actual analysis with practice and a polished method, you can understand this quickly. Again, with a lot of practice, you can understand this quickly and learn so much about your own journey, your soul's intention for you in this lifetime, or of that of your loved ones and friends. Maybe they're manifesting some behavior in their life and you're just like, God, where's that coming from? You know, you can see it in the chart. And it's just a priceless skill set to develop. And this is a good class to take also if you feel a little intimidated by astrology. Maybe you just want to dip your pinky toe in, you know. I introduce the core archetypes and we just play with them. So this was a little sample of what I'll be teaching in the class. And I'm very excited to do it. It's my second class.
Can you quickly speed read your 3 signs, Sun, Moon, Ascendant?
My 3 signs?
Yes.
Okay. I feel silly talking about my own chart. Okay, but I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm a philosopher with the soul of a servant wearing the mask of the lion. I have a Leo rising, so we have that connection there. I'm a Sagittarian sun. So Sagittarius goes by a variety of archetypes. I could have chose any of them. The gypsy, the scholar, the philosopher, different faces of Sag. Gypsies travel. Of course, I'm living in Portugal. Before that, I lived in China. Before I lived that in Thailand and then Mexico. So, you know, I've been around the globe.
Wow.
And it's fun. You know, that's me feeding my son. Scholar archetype is more centered in mind rather than bodily engagement with the world. A passionate mind. So much to learn, so little time. And then the philosopher archetype is the intuitive function to ask the big questions in life, like, why the heck are we here? You know, what is this all about? Are we alone? And I say, no, I'm not alone. That's my out of bound Mercury's. You know, so. But you know, the philosopher archetype, we can kind of blend it into a meta archetype by recognizing I have Neptune conjunct my sun. Neptune, the mystic.
Oh.
So in terms of me, I mean, humans can hang their hat on all kinds of cosmologies and belief systems and what's going on out there. Mine tends to be a little bit more Neptunian, which is at the foundation, consciousness is key. And I don't know if you've seen any of my videos, but that's kind of, you know, the bell I ring, you know, a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And
they include a meditation. It's very Neptunian.
That's the Neptune for sure. Yeah. And this is in the 5th house of my chart, which has a lot of overlap in meaning with the 5th sign of Leo, my rising sign. 5th phase symbolism just all over my chart. House of creativity. We already recognized the evolutionary path of Leo when we discussed your reading. So that's a very striking commonality that we have, is the need for us to artistically express ourselves.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And the soul of a servant is the Virgo archetype. I have my moon in Virgo. And of course, that sign is square to Sagittarius, you know, which makes it interesting because I mean, gosh, if you go to any website, astrology website, you go to the Sagittarius section and go to the relationship section, it says, don't marry a Virgo. You know?
Yes, Sagittarius and Virgo. Yeah.
Yeah, it won't work.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you go to the Virgo website, relationship section, don't marry a Sag. And here I have this marriage built into me. You know? Now, as relationship advice, that style of astrology, in my opinion, is pretty silly, but there's plenty of relationships between Virgos and Sag that are beautiful. But it is based on the fact that these symbols are just very different from each other. So in a lot of ways, it kind of accelerates with the brakes on,
Yeah.
My Sag in me says, let's go to Tasmania, and my Virgo says, on a plane, The sign of worry and concern, Virgo. Now, for you Virgos out there, please don't get offended. I like to poke fun at myself. Virgo is a beautiful sign, okay? I love Virgo to death. But the shadow side of it is too much self-doubt, too much holding back because it has a perfectionist energy. Us Virgos out there, we compare the actual with the ideal. High attention to detail in our external environment, especially with me and my moon in my own internal environment. So here's what I am, here's what I should be. So that kind of flies in the face of this live life to the fullest Sag, so I got a highly argumentative community in my internal world between my head and my heart.
Sorry.
You laugh or you cry. In your case, you're just laughing, but. Anyways, so the high-end Virgo is to serve, the servant archetype. So if I can manage to ride that wild horse, which is my perfectionist energy, and focus it on a skill set or a craft that I can provide to other people, it bolsters my dignity and my self-respect, and I feel good from helping other people. And if my dignity isn't bolstered, then I can spiral out of control of dark side Virgo, which is judging myself by the standard of perfection instead of the standard of my efforts.
I like that. Judging myself by the standard of perfection instead of the standard of my efforts. Wow, that's a great advice for Virgos.
But it's not easy to follow though, So we can see the tension between, Sagittarius and Virgo. So for Virgos, it's important for us to find work that matters. And it seemed work that matters for me is Neptune and creativity. And I've done a lot of different Neptunian things, meditation. I was an energy healer for a while. I ended up with astrology because there's one other main component of my chart. It's a very mercurial chart. Mercury is very emphasized in my chart because Mercury rules Virgo, my moon in Virgo in the third house. Mercury naturally rules the third house, and Mercury is conjunct my sun. So very mercurial chart. So when I was an energy healer, I was like, I love this work. It's very Neptunian, but something's missing. What is it? What is it? Well, I noticed that they'd come in, they lay on the table, I'd sprinkle them with good juju, and then they'd leave, and there's good benefit in that. But I was like, what? It was the talking. That's what I was missing. Virgo, the sign of communication. So I needed some sort of counseling component to the work. And I found it in astrology, and I found a type of astrology that I believe to be very psycho-spiritual, and there's the Neptune there, and I work with mysticism and meditation and fuse them together. So my chart can turn into a train wreck too, So Neptune conjunct the sun in the fifth house. Hello, party animal.
Have you done that?
Well,
with OCD tendencies, Virgo moon.
I basically rolled up my 20s in a fat tube and smoked it. I don't even remember that decade, So checking out of reality is the shadow side of my chart, and I definitely dabbled in that arena, and then my Saturn return hit and I sobered up, and now I'm on this different Neptune path. So You know, it's part of the learning curve, I
Are
guess.
you fully sober? You don't touch alcohol?
Nothing. Yeah. I'm addicted to
Right
yerba
there.
mate. Does that count? Yeah.
Sorry?
I'm addicted to yerba mate. Does that count?
What is that even?
Oh, you don't know about yerba mate? It's a South American rainforest tea, highly caffeinated. Yeah.
Oh.
It's one of my favorite beverages. So addicted to caffeine, but that's about it. That's my vice right now.
Oh, well done. How
Yeah.
does it feel being free from any substances?
Uh, awake,
Nice.
you know,
So you feel
more.
everything.
Yeah. I'm no longer in a stupor. I was miserable. I wasn't helping anybody. You know, before my Saturn return, I was a professional online poker player.
Fifth house again.
So there's the fifth house of gambling and games. And I was addicted to it. There's the Neptune. And my Virgo was like, what the hell? Just kind of, where am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't helping anybody but yourself, Brian. You know? So I became very depressed. So yeah, that's, I guess, the pistachio nutshell version, you know, the I am the philosopher or the scholar or the traveler with the soul of the servant, of the perfectionist shining through the Leo rising. So there you go. Now we talked about both of our charts,
And
and we
now,
got a lot of fire in both of our charts.
yeah, and we know your dark past now.
Yeah, well, I'm practicing my Leo vulnerability, you know.
Yes, because women really like you. A lot of the women viewers, you're like the heartthrob of the channel. So, and,
What?
and you're
Okay.
very mystical. They're like, who knows anyone about Brian? You know, tell us a bit more. So now, ladies, there you go.
Okay.
Maybe it's this Neptunian energy you have that.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mystery.
I've heard uh, they some word I heard was mesmerizing, and that's a good word for Neptune. You
Yeah.
know, because sometimes when I'm doing those videos, I kind of just I go into the zone, you know, in that Neptunian place, and
You
just
almost
information.
feel like in a trance, like you're channeling sometimes when I watch your videos. Like it feels
Oh,
like someone talks through you almost, like it's crazy.
sometimes I feel that, yeah, and sometimes my Virgo goes, "What the hell did you just say?" You know.
That was not
Yeah.
prepared in advance.
Delete, record, delete, record, delete, record. Yeah. And editing with a Virgo moon, nightmare.
Yes, but you have the most professional looking videos of everyone out there.
And it's not good enough. You know?
Oh, stop it. Okay, that I think is that your Leo thing, the performer, the fun side?
Probably, yeah. I mean, that's very fifth house, you know.
Making
And
people.
that comes out when I do creative stuff. You know, I'm not always like that, you know, because you got to, it's like the Leos, it's the mask. You know, here's my Sag and my Virgo. You know, if I were to just be Virgo in a nutshell on camera, I'd be a different person, you know, in a lot of ways. So we got to blend them all together. But here it is shining through the mask of the performer, you know. And I grew up in a theater family.
Oh,
My
wow.
uncle was a director of plays and a set designer and script writer. He did everything. And my dad is a very good actor.
Wow.
So grew up in that environment, and I loved it. That Leo side of me, fifth house side of me, just loved it, and I think it's helped me now because although I was resistant to going on stage then, I've watched thousands of hours of plays. So I think obviously through osmosis, I've taken on some of that performance stuff too, and I enjoy it. It's fun.
Wow, it's interesting because me being Aquarius rising, I grew up in a family where my dad was he was organizing strikes and rebellions against the government. That was his. He was super Iranian. He was leader of the trade unions as well. He was a politician, but outlier out there that was breaking the old rules of politics. And I that's what made me very comfortable to go against the grain because I never, initially I was like worried to, but then growing in this environment, I was like, my dad always say, you have to stick to your truth and go against, ruffle a few feathers, be agent provocateur if you have to, rebel.
Totally.
There you
And
go.
again, you've been immersed in that rebel energy,
Yeah.
questioning authority for lifetimes, South Node in Aquarius as well. And I mean, gosh, it's so obvious that we're the environment in which we're born,
Mm-hmm.
culture, the larger framework of history, certainly family, is a major shaper in our life. And as souls, I believe, you know, we elect which parents and location on the globe to be born into because we need to be learning specific lessons. And we know as a soul, those environments will foster those certain energies in us and put us on a very particular life path because we're learning those lessons. I believe, the school of hard knocks here at planet Earth is a school. We're here to learn. So, yeah, that's interesting, the connection between our rising signs to our childhood, though.
Yeah, that got me thinking, because it allows you to express through that lens with more ease. If you have good aspect, I guess, to the ascendant, you are supported. And I have only good aspects to my ascendant, so it comes, I'm not afraid to be different. And I embrace it, but if it was difficult aspects, probably it wouldn't be the same. So
Yeah, yeah.
like from the black sheep of the family, but no, I said I want to be an astrologer. My dad said amazing.
Oh,
It,
beautiful.
yes,
Oh, that's
I was
wonderful.
very supported in anything Uranus, anything different that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Anyway, thank you so much, Brian. It was fascinating. I'm gonna watch it again and listen to that reading you did. I hope a lot of you that watched us also are learning, because we looked through a lot of archetypes, the archetypes of Leo, of Aquarius, of Aries, of Virgo. So we went through a few of them. And if you'd like to learn more in depth how to speed read the birth chart with this beautiful method that Brian demonstrated, with this philosophical slant to it, with this deeper slant, do join us on the 12th of September. You can watch it live, or everyone receives a recording for live after that. So if you can't make it live, you can just watch after that. And I think that Brian will even speed read a few charts of people that are there online, whoever is able to join us live. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm excited. It was a great example. And looking forward to hear from you again soon.
Okay, Lada, thanks a lot. That was fun.
Bye.
Bye.